morning, everyone! Welcome to the first episode of Season 3. Grabe, Coach Jan, ang bilis, no? Nakatatlong season na pala tayo. Pangatlo na natin to.
Yes.
So, thank you for being with us. Thank you for supporting us. And alam namin we hope sumasaya kayo sa pag-join niyo sa podcast namin. Ha? So, especially with what's going on. Sana natututo kayo, particularly. So, alam naman natin lahat na, of course, this pandemic has slowed us all down, especially our country. So, life somewhat paused, and especially with another ECQ being enforced, or which was enforced, but our work never ends. Life must go on, diba? So, we still need to move forward. So, the good news is, we don't need to do it alone. So, kaya kami nandito. So, there are always people willing to help. Yun nga lang, medyo in this season, Andre and Francis will be going on a break because of the nature of their work. Medyo hindi jive sa work schedule nila yung recording hours natin. And Louie naman, medyo naging hectic yung kanyang MBA schedule. So maybe when she's on break, maka-join siya sa atin.
Yep.
So, hi guys! So, we hope that you can join us in the next episode. So,
yes.
So, sana ma-clear up yung schedules niyo. Our podcast episodes are shown every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. That is why it is important to follow us on Facebook. Episodes are pre-recorded and will be broadcasted through Facebook Live.
This show is powered by IARFC PH, the Philippine chapter of the International Association of Registered Financial Consultants. The IARFC PH is an association dedicated to the craft of financial consulting. The association is the sole organization authorized to conduct the RFC conversion courses as well as continuing education in the field of financial consulting. We are your hosts. I am Coach John Dizon, a registered financial consultant and a life coach from NLB Manila.
I am Kuya Ryan Daes, a registered financial consultant, a chartered wealth manager, and a registered estate planner. So, Coach John, we have a special treat for all of our regular watchers this season. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, our friends from the IARFC USA and even IARFC Asia will be joining us this season and will be sharing with us their best practices. Diba? We always introduce in this show na we try to pick the minds of our guests, the best and the brightest. So ngayon, yung source ng financial planning will be joining us. Mga friends natin across the pond, ika nga. So, ang maganda, we're not just going international. We have a special treat for everyone. Sitting with us as guest anchor for the entire season will be our very own IARFC Philippines President, Sir Boyet Benavides. So, palakpakan tayo! Welcome, Sir Boyet! Thank you for joining us!
Hi, Ryan. Hi, John. Thanks for allowing me to crash.
Sir, hindi kami tatanggi. Hindi kami tatanggi, sir.
And as you mentioned, this season is going to be very exciting, very informative. And I would like to invite everybody to stay tuned to each and every episode because we have lined up for you international speakers, experts in their own fields, and most especially RFCs who have been in the practice, and they will be sharing with us their experience, sharing their knowledge, sharing the tips on how we can improve in our financial planning profession. So, welcome to the first season, everybody, and this is going to be the start of a series of very, very informative session. So stay tuned, everybody.
Wow. First episode of Season 3. Grabe, ang bilis ng panahon. So fast.
Kung nagpasabog tayo nung New Year, mas matindi yung pasabog natin. Hindi pa nga nagsa-start yung second half di ba? Meron na tayong Kumbaga, meron tayong bomb na ipapagsak sa ating mga regular watchers. So,
Yes.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, and we do have the list already of our upcoming speakers. So I'm really excited. Nung ni-research ko na yung mga iba dyan sobrang wow, grabe.
Especially yung guest natin tonight. Before I preempt Sir Boyet in the introduction, trivia lang, yung ating guest tonight is a mestizo. Hindi siya basta mestizo, Coach John.
Okay.
Filipino siya.
Ooh. Yes, taga saan ba?
Yung mother niya, Waray.
Waray na waray.
Waray na waray. Taga Leyte.
Leyte. Wow.
Sino nga ba yun, Sir Boy? Si Manang Biday ba yun? Yung Waray? Sino ba yung Waray?
Manang Biday.
Ilocos pala yun. Sorry. Na-mix up ko na. Sino nga ba yung Waray? Kaya ako tinatanong, I defer to your wisdom, Sir Goyen.
Hindi ko na rin maalala, but well, our guest speaker, aside from his Filipino heritage, he was also one of the youngest in the IARFC board of directors. So we have somebody of very, very high caliber and passionate about the financial planning profession. So maganda yung first season natin.
Yes.
Before we introduce our speaker, we'd also like to thank our advisor and our guide all throughout the formation of the Philippine chapter of IARFC. In the Philippines, Ms. Susan Capa, she has been very instrumental in bringing us the lineup of speakers for this season. Thank you, Ms. Susan, and we really appreciate the support that you have given the Philippine chapter with all the advice, all the meetings, all the guidance that we have received from you, from the IARFC group. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Susan.
Our guest speaker for tonight is Mr. Nicholas A. Royer, MRFC. So Nick has been a registered financial consultant and master registered financial consultant for over 19 years. During that time, he has helped coach thousands of people across the United States to live confident retirement lifestyles. Nick is also a TV news contributor for CBS, NBC, and ABC affiliates, and his CBS segment, Your Money Matters with Nick Royer, airs weekly on WFLI Channel 18. Not only is Nick a well-known keynote speaker and author, but along with his father, Jerry, he co-hosts the nationally syndicated On the Money with Jerry and Nick Royer radio show, which is now on its 8th season. In 2013, Nick was unanimously appointed to the board of directors of the International Association of Registered Financial Consultants by his peers. And in 2015, he was elevated to be the youngest vice chairman in IARFC history. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, our guest speaker for tonight, Mr. Nick Royer.
Hello, everybody. So glad to be here, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share some information about what we're doing here in marketing with everybody there. So with technology, it's kind of an amazing thing that we're able to share across borders, and the borders don't exist anymore. So it's awesome to be with you all tonight.
Nick, if somebody's trying to figure out how to market their practice, how should they start it? What are the things that they should start with?
Well, the first thing that people need to realize is, at least this is how my take is, we think of ourselves as financial consultants. But in reality, if we're financial consultants, but we don't have anybody to see, we're not helping anybody. And the goal of a financial consultant, and the goal of the International Association of Registered Financial Consultants, is to make transformational differences in transformational impacts in the quality of the lives of the people that we help. So if we don't see anybody, we can't make a transformational difference. So what we almost have to realize first and foremost is that we are marketers who happen to be financial consultants. We have to market ourselves, or we don't have anybody to see. We have to market ourselves, or we can't transform anybody. And so the first thing that we have to realize is that at the core, we are marketers who just happen to be in the financial services industry. And so that's the first thing. So first things first, you have to find out when you are determining how to market, or what's the first thing that you should do as you're trying to market yourselves. You got to figure out, what is it that you do? What is your target market? What is your unique process? So in the United States, I'm a retirement wealth advisor. So my focus and the people that I'm focusing on are people between the age of 50 to 70 years old who are trying to get to and through retirement. So I know my group of people that I'm trying to market to. It's not everybody. It's not shotgun advertising where we're trying to hit anybody who is out there. We want to be really fine-tuned, just like your doctor. If you think a doctor, the doctors who are the most successful are generally the doctors who specialize, right? Yeah, exactly, specialize in something specific. Maybe it's a podiatrist, maybe it's a pediatrician, maybe it's a heart surgeon. They specialize. So you have to find out what your specialty is. What are you really good at? And then market that specific thing. So you have to find out almost who is your right fit client. If you think about your ideal client, take your top 5 clients that you have right now, the top 5 relationships that are the best ones, and then say to yourself, wow, geez, what is it about them? What am I helping them with? What is in my, what's in my back pocket that's helping me help these people? Where am I most comfortable with? So, and then what you do is once you figure out that niche of where you focus on, not just financial consultant, but specific down to the level, down to maybe even the age, where they live, what their beliefs are, who they work for, maybe as a company. Once you fine-tune down to the niche, then what you should figure out is, what is my unique process? I think a lot of financial consultants, at least who we've talked with and I've met over the years, the problem is they don't really have a defined process. They kind of go into every client meeting with a different idea. We'll just go into this meeting and we'll figure things out as we go in there. And so these days, people want a road. They want a framework that they can tie into. They want a defined system. So it's much easier to say, here's who I help and here's the process that we use to help them out. So as it applies to marketing, the very first thing I would probably do is define and name your process. Here, a couple examples that you see here is, maybe if you're in the retirement field, it would be maybe your process is this, I follow a process. I built this process over 56 years, and it's called a stress-free retirement roadmap, or it's the Retire Well 5-step review. Whatever it is, you define your process, and then what that means is you can market this process across radio, TV, in conversation, at seminars, at events, and now people are buying into the system that you created rather than the product that you sell. So first thing I would do is really define and name that process. And once you define and name that process, the next step is to create unique statements around that process. You don't want to walk around and say, what do you do? Well, I sell, this, or I sell that. You want to say, my process is what I sell. Our 5-step process can help people not run out of money during retirement. And so what you're doing is you're defining your process, you're listing a bunch of value statements around that process that you can talk about, and you can teach at seminars, and you can say, here's our process, and here's at the core what this process does for you. And then lastly, what you can do is create your own, what we call here, a shock and awe toolkit. It's almost, and this has been used in different ways. Some people call it maybe a media kit. Some people call it maybe your brochure. Actually, we have a slide that we'll put up here right now that has a picture of what ours looks like, which is literally a toolkit. And so it has a lot of uses, but really we're taking that unique process. We're putting tools in this toolkit so that if we're on the radio, we can tell people, hey, we have a toolkit that can help you get to and through retirement. You give us a call or text, us right now, and we'll send you a copy of this toolkit.
So Nick, you mentioned about marketing the process, marketing a toolkit. Like, what types of marketing should we start with, and like, do we just stick to one, or do we try everything and see what works?
Yeah, so I believe in using multiple streams of marketing. You can't just use one, and sometimes we get comfortable, right? So we might think, oh, well, I'm just going to use one because I'm really good at that one, and then we don't do any other one, and then that one starts to fail, and we have all of our eggs in one basket, and that basket breaks. And when I think about COVID this year, if all you did was live events, and that was your only marketing funnel, and you didn't do anything else, or podcasts or webinars or none of that other stuff, or you didn't have a way to get referrals or anything, if you only did live events, when everything shut down, your whole business would have shut down. And so the idea of having multiple streams of income is so that if something happens where we are shut down, or one funnel fails, we have other things in place to help us out. So we'll get into the types of marketing. And again, we do things differently here in the U.S. So some of these marketing things may not be things that you do there, but you might be able to think, oh my gosh, we have something similar that we could do. So what I want to first go to before we get into the funnel is to talk about the 3 stages of the marketing process. So the 3 stages are this. There's the before unit, there's the during unit, and the after unit. And you have to look at each one of these as a different part. So the before unit of your marketing is going to be how you get them in the funnel. What modes are you using? Is it TV? Is it radio? Is it podcasts? Is it referrals? What are you using to get people in the funnel? What is your marketing? How are you showing up? What's your process that you're marketing? And then once you have that before unit done, the next part is what's called the during unit. The during unit is, I guess if you were to say, if you did a live event where you sent out mailers to a live event that you're doing, whether it's at, wherever that's at, wherever it's a restaurant or wherever that's at, the before unit would be your marketing piece that's marketing what you're talking about in your process that you send out. Then once they get into the room and you're talking to them, that's the during unit. That's when you are sharing your information with them and you're trying to get them to take action. Now, sometimes that means that they take action by meeting with you, but what we'll get into later on is there's a large number of people that won't want to meet with you, but maybe the time just isn't right. And so we'll come back to what you can do about that later. And then the next unit would be what's called the after unit. So the after unit is how you keep them engaged so they're you are top of mind in their mind when they are ready to actually do something. Only a small percentage of people are ever ready at one time, and you have to keep nurturing that along so that when they're ready, they remember you. They don't say, well, I'm just going to go to this guy who's the most recent phone call I've gotten or the most recent mailer I've gotten. You want them to come back to you knowing I met with them, it wasn't right then, but I stayed in with them and I read their stuff, and those are the guys I need to go to. So there's those 3 stages of the marketing process, and we're going to talk first about the before unit. And so let's get into talking about that. Now I have a slide here, which is the funnel. And so in the funnel, what you'll see here is there's a whole bunch of different things that are different marketing. So you said, do we start off with one type of marketing or multiple? My answer is you got to create multiple streams of marketing. Just like for a lot of our clients, we want them to have multiple streams of income. Look at marketing as when you create multiple streams of marketing, you're in essence creating for you multiple streams of income. And so you might have things, I have a whole bunch of things listed here in this funnel, where they come into the top of the funnel, whether they're from radio, or if you do podcasts, or you do live events. And I have something else here listed as classes. Now, what classes mean to us here is we have local community colleges, universities, where we have classes that we can teach. We do here is we do a 2-day class. It's 2.5 hours, 2 days in a row, where we talk about retirement, we talk about investment planning and income planning and tax planning and healthcare planning, and we talk about estate planning. And we take 2 days, 2.5 hours each day to talk about those 5 topics. It's a real deep dive that we do in the local community colleges. And so that is, when I say classes, that's what I mean. Now, you could do classes at libraries if you have them. You could do them at civic centers. Classes are just that. They're longer events rather than maybe a live, like a dinner event that's maybe, 1 hour, like a condensed 1 hour presentation. The class is going to be longer. You're diving more deep. You're getting into more detail. You'll also see social media, depending on how you use it there. In the United States, we use, Facebook or LinkedIn, those types of things, but these are ways that you can get people in your funnel. YouTube is going to be more popular. I think the people who get out and start marketing themselves through video are going to be, hitting a new wave of people who, are very used now to their smartphone. With COVID, the only thing you really had for entertainment was a smartphone.
And that's your companion for the day.
Yeah, so I think people got really on that. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a gentleman the other day who's a client of mine and he used to do music for Disney. He was a musician, and Disney World in Orlando had musicians all throughout the amusement park. And it helped the ambiance. You'd walk in, and there's a mariachi band over here. You walk in, there's a guy playing woodwinds over there. There's a guy playing piano on the corner. Well, when COVID hit, they started getting rid of all the musicians. As a matter of fact, they're all gone. And I asked him, I said, hey, is Disney hiring and bringing all the musicians back? And he's like, no, they're not. He's like, and if they do, it's going to be a very small percentage. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, because what's ending up happening is people now have apps on their smartphones. And so we've surveyed them about what they are they going to Disney because of the music? And he said in the past people said yes, but now it's a resounding no, because they wait in line and they don't need music to distract them. They can wait in line and play the Disney app on their phone, which eliminates the need for the musician. So you can see how times have changed. Isn't that crazy? So you can see how times have changed from where it is. And so that's why I say like YouTube, different things like that, it's going to be more of the wave of the future. Webinars as well. If you can take your existing seminar that you do and cut it down to maybe 35 to 40 minutes and make it into a webinar, now there's a lot of webinar services out there. Now you can market your message succinctly to people virtually, and they don't even have to drive. So that's an avenue, I think, and it's slower on the uptick right now. It's not as sticky as a live event, but those are definitely ways of marketing. You have referrals that can go into this too. Remember, I would say the highest ratio of people that you'll actually do business with are the people who've been referred. It's your highest, I guess you could say, closing ratio, because they already have friends who know you. They're comfortable with that. People like to work within a tribe where they're kind of like, this is a friend of his and he's a friend of yours and he says you're great. It's much better than a cold lead. Existing clients, obviously, when you do annual reviews with people, that can be an opportunity to help somebody through other aspects of their life that maybe you hadn't in the past. You have client events. Every year, as an example, we have a Christmas party. We take people on a boat. We rent out a 3-story paddle boat. We put all of our clients on it. Of course, we didn't do it last year, because of, everything was shut down. But everybody gets to come on. There's community. They start to see you. It makes that relationship very sticky. Another thing too, you can do TV, and I also mentioned webinars. So whatever it is, when you're looking at this funnel, just remember your goal is to find the right people for you to work with who buy into your philosophy and they buy into your message. And so they all come in from different places. So have multiple funnels coming in, multiple people coming into your funnel. They become leads. And then what you want to do is, as you work through them and work through helping those people, you want to find out who's a right fit for you and who's not a fit. Remember, this is the hardest thing for me as an individual to figure out, was when I first got into practice 21 years ago, I wanted everybody to be my client. Everybody. You know, and I want, just like I go into a room, I want everybody to be my friend. Right? So I wanted everybody to be I wanted everybody to be a client. And what I realized is there's a lot of people I don't want to be my client. They're just not a fit for my firm. They come in, maybe they're negative, they have a bad attitude just in general, and they're just not a fit for the firm. And so or maybe their philosophy, maybe when I make suggestions, they don't trust me because that's inherent to them. They just don't trust. And so what ends up happening is they circumvent, I give them advice and then they go out and they change my advice, and now all of a sudden they're in a worse situation. And it looks bad on both of us. And I tell people, I don't want to help you fail. And so you have to really look at this as you want to work with the people that you can work with for 20, 30, 40 years. Just like you have your own family, you're trying to build your client family. And so you want to make sure you have the right people that are fitting in there. And I have something else listed on up on the left side of this funnel, and you'll see it says, build your lead farm. And what that means is when people are coming into the top of this funnel, there's going to be times when they are right to meet with you, and there's going to be times when they're not right now. And so what you want to do is you want to create this lead farm. Just because they don't want to do business with you today doesn't mean they won't in the future. And so you want to build up a lead farm of people that you can continue to nurture. You don't want to just say, well, that person didn't do business with me, so my lead list is 5 because if they didn't do business with me, I just don't talk to them ever again. That's not good because people have different time frames. We'll get into that in a minute. But that's going to be, these multiple funnels, I think, are going to be what's key to helping a new person figure out, okay, what do I do here? Which of these can I do to get the right people working with me who buy into my philosophy, they buy into my message, they buy into my defined process.
Right. So, Nick, from what you're saying, it's like, how I see it, it's like a filter that it filters with the clients that you want to have yourself, right? I think that's a lot of work, and I do a lot of things of these as well. I do ads, so you mentioned a lot of things like radio, TV, YouTube, all these things that would market or make these clients of yours into the funnel, right? That alone is challenging. However, one of the more challenging rather, is how do you keep them in the funnel once they're already there?
Yeah, so I have a slide here that we're going to bring up right now, and it's you'll see it's called, they aren't ready when you're ready. And I have this iceberg on here, and the reason I have this iceberg on here is we all know the story of the Titanic. And we know that in an iceberg, we've realized this, is that the biggest part of the iceberg is the parts you don't see. You see the top part, but you don't realize that it's all the stuff underneath. And so sometimes we can be laser focused just on that top part. And we just say, hey, we're only going to focus on the people that we see at the top part. But there's all this stuff below that's the gold that we need to keep people engaged in what we do. We can't just forget that. So what you'll see here is, and there's been studies done on this, where at any one point in time, now we think when somebody raises their hand and says, yeah, I want to have a meeting with you, or when somebody raises their hand and calls in after an advertisement, a lot of times what we think is, well, they must be ready right now. They must be ready. We think they're ready to buy right now. We think they're ready to become a client right now. No, maybe they're just ready to gather information. And they're just not ready yet to do things. Maybe they're too young. Maybe they're just trying to figure out what they want to do. So you just got to remember that 5 to 10% of people at any one time are ready to go right now. And that's probably high. It's probably more closer to 3 to 5% of people are ever ready at one point in time to actually say, yes, I want to come on board with you. And so you just got to remember, I think that once you realize that, it will change your whole frame of reference, because now there is 95% of these people that just aren't ready now, but they could be ready later. And as financial advisors, sometimes our biggest problem as a group, and I talk to people all over the place at conferences, the biggest problem that we have as financial consultants is we want to work with people right now, and if they don't want to work with us right now, I don't have time for it. And that's not a good way to think about this, because there's so many families that we could help by just nurturing them through the process. And so 90 to 95% of these people aren't ready right now, but the timing might be right later on. So what you got to do is you got to drip, drip, drip to them. That's how you keep them going on. So I'm actually going to move on to the next slide in this, which is another iceberg here, and I'm calling this the after unit. So in the after unit, how you got to know, how do you drip? So again, before unit is maybe your advertisement that gets them to come in and raise their hand. Maybe the during unit is either a live event that you did with them. Maybe it's a face-to-face meeting. Maybe it's a web meeting or something like that. That's where you're sharing what you do with them and you're trying to get the interest. But after that, if they're not right there, joining your client family right then and there, there's the after unit. So the after unit is, how do you drip to somebody after they've raised their hand and they're a prospect? How do you keep them in your lead farm so that when they are actually ready, they have you as top of mind? Now, one of the misnomers is that, or fallacies or myths, is that my website's good enough. My website will be their drip. They'll remember. So when they forget about me, once they think about financial services, they'll go to www.blah, blah, blah, and they'll find me when they need me. No, they won't. They won't. Honestly, your website is nothing more than a glorified business card. In reality, it has a picture of you, your team, maybe a couple beliefs of what you do, maybe a couple blog posts, and that's it. It's not really, what I would say is, it's not really interactive with the individual. So I have a couple things listed here, and you'll see I've got this below the iceberg. So if you look at this picture, you'll see that there's all these different things that you should do or that you can do to help people kind of stay top of mind. So you can stay top of mind for them, so when they're ready, they actually say, yep, I'm ready, and they know where to find you. And it should be done every week, multiple times a week, if not 2 or 3 times, that you're staying top of mind. Now, a lot of people will say, aren't I going to blow people out if I do that? Yes, you might, but then they weren't a right fit for you anyway. The people who want to keep hearing your message will stay in the pipeline until they're ready. So if you have a lead list of 2,000 people, let's say, or 1,000 people, and you send out an email and 5 people decide that they want to unsubscribe or unsubscribe, is that a bad thing? No. They're just not ready, and they were never going to be ready. So that's fine. They're weeding themselves out of the funnel. They probably would never be clients anyway. But you might have all the other 995 people that are still there, that are still eating and drinking your content because they're waiting for that time when they are ready. And when they are ready, now they'll know how to find you. So frequent emails is definitely one. Now there's a couple ways that you can do this, but even if you started out, you don't have to do awesome design work. A lot of people think, oh, well, I got to do this awesome design work. One of the funniest emails that we actually sent out was about how retirement planning was a lot like, I think it was, how retirement planning is a lot like eating a crab, where you have to shell the fish back to find out what's actually on the inside. And so that was the headline, and a lot of people were like, wow, that's a great email. I just typed it in black and white. I literally typed it and sent it out. No design work, no nothing. It was text on a page. And that was it. With a link that said, hey, if this piques your curiosity, click here and you can go to my online calendar. Now, that's a key. If you can attach at the bottom of your email, so when you set up your email, you probably have your what's called an email signature. Your picture, it has your, your information. If you can set up, and I don't know what services they have there, in the United States we have something called Calendly, Calendly. And what Calendly does is you can set up your own calendar. So I have calendars set up for 15-minute calls, 60-minute client reviews, 60-minute virtual visits, 60-minute in-office visits, and I can send the appropriate link to somebody and say, hey, if this piques your curiosity, click this link, and you can instantly set up a 15-minute call with me where we can dive deeper into how this applies to you. And so that is, that's a side note, it's not even on here, but if you can do that, that's going to help, and then you can market that too, your web links. So becoming more automated definitely helps. So frequent emails where you can just type it out. Maybe it's like where you're sending out a weekly newsletter with some links to articles that might be pertinent to people. If you do a podcast, which I would suggest, if you do a weekly podcast, you could say every Friday I send an email out to all my clients saying, here's the podcast for the week, and here's what I talk about. And if you have any questions on this, here's the link to set up a 15-minute visit. Oh, and by the way, don't keep this information to yourself. Click this link, and if you have other people that you think might benefit from this podcast, hit here, which takes them to another web page, and they can type in the names and the email addresses of other people, and now you have new people in your lead farm that you can send your marketing out to, and you can say, hey, Joe over here said that we had a podcast and it was really good and he thought you might benefit from it, so here's the link to this podcast, and oh, by the way, if you have some other friends that might benefit from this, click this share link and you can share this podcast with them as well. So it's a great way to build other people. You're not going to get a whole bunch of people that way, but it's a way to get some. So video messages, that's another big hit here that we use a lot of. We have a technology called BombBomb. The IARFC in the United States was able to get contracts for the United States based to use this technology, and I don't know what the technology would be in the Philippines if that exists, but you can look this up. So BombBomb basically is where you can take your computer. I can do a quick video. Hey, how are you doing today? I've got some great information coming out here on this Market Watch update. I'm sure you all heard about the stock market crash that people are thinking is going to happen. Let me give you some information on what our team has come out with that will help put some perspective on this. So click this link below. You're going to see this article that you can go to and download. And again, feel free to share this with your friends and family who probably don't know this information. And so make sure you're sharing this with them. And if you have any questions, just give us a call here at the office or click the link below, and you'll be able to schedule a quick 15-minute call. So it's that type of video. And BombBomb, what it will do is take that video, make it into an email, and send it out to people so they can instantly watch it on their smartphones, their computers, different stuff like that. It's very timely, and they get to see your face. It actually came out in the real estate market here in the United States. People were walking around saying, I like that house, but how does it work? Well, you have these real estate agents that have built up massive lead farms. They'll go around to a house and say, hey, folks, look at this beautiful house. And then they can hit send, and that email with the video of that house and their commentary goes instantly out to everybody in their lead farm. So financial advisors kind of stole the idea. These real estate agents are doing it this way. So kind of a great thing. So that's what I mean by BombBomb. Of course, you got educational events like webinars that you can do for your existing clients, or lunch and learns. Again, podcasts is something else that you can do, or social media. As a matter of fact, a couple days ago, I had a client that came in, and she's from the Philippines as well, and she brought in a whole bunch of lumpia for our entire office. It's one of the first times they've actually been out of their house, so they made a whole bunch of this, delivered it to the office, and all of us are like eating this. And so we just took a picture of it, of all of us fighting over the food, and we posted it on our social media page. So social media, people like the story, sometimes not necessarily the content. They like the story behind it. So don't forget, we're really kind of storytellers. So there's all these different things that you can put in your pipeline to continue to nurture people. Pick one or two of these things, or maybe just pick one of them and start with that. And then once that's going, start another one. And then once that's going, start another one. But don't feel that, I'm going to touch them too much. No, you could actually probably do it every day if you really wanted to. The people who are right for you will stay around. The people who aren't will usher themselves out, and that's okay. You got to be okay with that.
Wow, very interesting. So, if you just get to practice most of that, or even just 10%, business will be very different here. Anyways,
Wow. Amazing.
yeah, it's very amazing. Well, Nick, so you have this lead farm and all, you're nurturing them. What's the best way to continue marketing to your list? You raise a lot of very interesting stuff that we haven't much seen here yet in the Philippines. I guess eventually it will trickle down, especially with this podcast airing on Facebook. For sure, many advisors, many financial advisors would be picking it up. The question is, what's the best way to continue marketing to this lead farm that you have created? How do you continue to nurture them so that we can convert them to clients eventually?
So once they enter into that lead farm, the easiest way I would think, and you could do, there's so many that you could do, right? You have your email or your video and your educational and your podcast. One of the quickest ways that I've found is if you have a lead farm and they're used to hearing from you over and over and over again. Let's say you're sending out a weekly email, or maybe you're sending out 2 or 3 quick notes a week to everybody, or maybe you're doing a bomb every month, or a video message, so to speak. I say bomb, but that's probably not the technology there. So a video message every month, and you're just saying, hey, this is coffee with Nick, or this is whatever it is. You're just sending out a quick message, and people are seeing you. That's going to keep them top of mind. But then how do you get them to actually get over the hump is by 2 things. The first thing is going to be free gifts. People like free stuff. And so you can either call people and say, hey, or have somebody on your team give them a call. It just depends on how you're doing things. If you have good content, let's say, for instance, you have an article about how to retire. The 5 steps to retire, or the 3 things that you need to know about your work plan and how to save for retirement, or the how to handle a divorce. Whatever it is, if you can build a white paper around it, now you can actually do a video that says, hey, I got this real key information here you can download right below me on this article, and you can track on some of these services who's downloading that. And then you can call them up on the phone and say, hey, I saw that you downloaded this. What questions do you have after reading it? So it opens up. You're wanting to continue the conversation. That's all that you're trying to do here. Another thing that you can do with this as well, when you're talking about that, is you can either call people. If you have like a hot list of people that you're really wanting to get to, you can call them up and say, hey, I've been thinking about you. I've got some information that I just put together, a white paper about how to handle the 3 things you have to know about a workplace plan and how to save money for retirement so you don't end up down the road not being able to retire. And I got this article. I thought about you, and I wanted to get this information to you. Do you have your email address? Is this something that I can send to you? Is this sound of interest to you? Well, yeah. See, people might not want to book the appointment, or we call them visits. They might not want to book the appointment, but they always are going to not turn down free stuff. And then they just keep in. Another thing, too, is a webinar. If I were to say another thing, is a webinar is something that you can record. You can actually use some technology. Zoom obviously is live, but there's even some technology out there where you can record it, edit it, and then rerun it as if it's live. So people don't know that it's recorded. And so that way, if you mess up, you can go back in time and kind of fix it a little bit and whatever. But that's a great thing because you can go to your lead farm and say, hey, everybody, we're hearing a lot about this topic. We have a 30-minute webinar on it. And now you're going back to your lead farm and you're giving them timely information. And when you do a webinar, you always want to have 2 or 3 call to actions during the webinar. Hey, I know we're talking about this, and here's a link to my calendar. If you want to dive further into this, then we have a free 15-minute consultation that we'll do with you, a strategy session. Click this link, and we'll be able to talk about how this pertains to you. And so those are things that you could do as people are already in there, Ryan. People are already in there to nurture them through and to kind of get them over the hump.
Nice, very interesting. Okay, so how should, at this point, our viewers are probably wondering, how should they, especially our members, how should advisors be marketing the specific products that they sell, especially here in the Philippines? Most of our members are still affiliated to a particular financial services company, like an insurance company or a mutual fund company, or in the case of Sir Boyet, he's part of a bank. So how can they sort of silently push their products?
So what I would say, and I'm going to ask a question here, to talk about their product, I would say, don't talk about your product. So everybody has product. We all do. We all have access to the same things. What people don't have access to is you all. Okay, you are what makes that product different, but people don't see that. Sometimes they just think as we are a distribution center for a product. We're not a distribution center for a product. We are actually marketing ourselves. We're using products to help people out, but we're not selling the product. The product's not, we're not Amazon. So let me ask you a question. What would be the top 1, 2, or 3 products that people are selling right now with who you're working with? What are the products that they're working with or selling?
Well, right now, most of my, with my principal, it's mostly variable life insurance and critical illness policies.
Okay, so variable life insurance. What was the other one, Ryan?
Critical illness plans.
Critical illness. Okay, so basically insurance, critical illness, variable universal life. Okay.
Yes.
And anybody else different than that, or is that?
Well, for us, we do bonds, we do stocks, we do like deposits. So mostly investment products.
Okay. All right. So there's a saying that goes in the United States that the quickest way to clear out an elevator is to tell them you're an insurance salesman.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Right. So because you lead off with talking about a product that nobody wants to talk about because they have to talk about their death. And although there's only 2 certain things in life, death and taxes, nobody wants to talk about death. Right. It's going to happen, but we don't want to talk about it. So when it comes to variable universal life, or when it comes to critical illness or life insurance, and I have a slide here. So again, I have a slide here that I want you to change your frame of reference on how you explain it. So replace the conversation of we sell life insurance to we help people pass on tax-free wealth to their families as easily and effortlessly as possible.
Nice. Very nice.
Right. So what you're doing is you're trying to get to the question of how do you do that? Right. But even at a live event, you can say, hey, this is what we do. We help people get to and through retirement. And then once that happens, we help them create plans and strategies so that they have tax-free wealth that they can pass on as easily and effortlessly as possible to their loved ones after they're no longer here and they've walked out on life. that is a much different story that people get than life insurance or variable universal life insurance. Variable, who knows? So you might get somebody that says, well, that term variable doesn't really sound good to me anyway. And life insurance, well, that guy down the street knocked on my door and tried to sell me life insurance. And so you have all this association that ties a person to the outward thing, the life insurance, which is out here. I want them to tie into me. I want them to tie into my strategy. I want them to buy me. And I want them to say, really, how do you do that? You mentioned bonds. So on this one here, we're very similar. In the United States, we have stocks, bonds, mutual funds, all sorts of different things. So we have those too. And so, but a lot of times people say, well, what do you do? Well, we actively manage stock market portfolios. Well, so does a lot of people, right? I mean, a lot of people do that. And so what's happening is there's this term commodization, to where we're becoming a commodity because we've allowed ourselves to become a commodity. We've allowed ourselves to say, we sell this, well, so does everybody else. And what we need to do is we need to differentiate what we are good at. So that's why I said it from the outset, your process matters. What you call your process matters. The value propositions you build around that process, because then you start talking about that. Just like instead of talking about, we actively manage stock market portfolios, you can say, hey, here's what we do. We help people avoid getting crushed during market crises. Or we help people take the emotion out of investment planning. Or we build portfolios for people so they can sleep well at night. So there's a difference when you get into talking about those types of things than when you just say, I sell stock, I sell bonds. Because it's kind of, when you say that, kind of in the United States at least, people shut off. Because they're getting TD Ameritrade commercials, Schwab commercials here, and they're seeing all these commercials and say, well, I can get it from there.
Get it for 10 cents a trade, why go through you, right?
Yeah, exactly why. But once you say, hey, what we do is we help people create financial plans to help them get to and through retirement, now this conversation has changed. Even going so far as saying, here's what we do. We help people create retirement income plans so they don't run out of money during retirement. We help them invest their money so they don't have to live through a 2008 crisis. And then what we do is we help them stop paying unnecessary taxes. And when you start talking about that, you're changing the construct. You're talking about strategy, and you're leading it back to you and what you can do to help them build that plan, as opposed to here's the product. Because if you say about stock or mutual funds or bonds, then how's that first meeting go? They come in, they sit down, they say, well, what stock do you got? Which is hot? And it kind of reminds me of that Wall Street movie in the United States, going back, Wall Street, with Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen. It was a 1980s movie. And the code word was Blue Horseshoe loves Anacott Steel, right? And if you watch that movie, again, I'm from the United States, folks, so I apologize. But, that the whole thing was, what's the hot stock, bud? What do I need to buy? And so we want to change that conversation, at least for us, because we don't want a transaction, at least for our company. We want to make a transformational difference. So that means we're holistic in how we look at things, not just saying, here's the hot stock that you should buy, and I'm not going to look at everything else. We want to become holistic in what we do. So that's one way of looking at it. I have another one. So there's a lot of, do you have annuities there?
I don't think we do.
No annuities? So
I think that's only the SSS here, the Social Security System.
All right, so those are things like we have here, and I won't. Basically, I'll give you the frame so you can see how this would work. An annuity is, in the United States, an investment through an insurance company. Not life insurance, but an annuity is something that can provide them income in retirement. So there's a lot of people who go around and say, well, hey, I sell annuities. But it's kind of like that life insurance. Nobody wants to buy one. So what we do is we change the language. And you, just like you mentioned with your program there, Ryan, we change the language and we say, we help people to not run out of money during retirement. What is that? It's a program that provides a guaranteed stream of income. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the process. We're talking about the strategy. So there's all these different ways. I would just really go back through what you do and think about how you're mentioning it and how you're talking about it. And instead of talking about the item, talk about what does it do for people? What is it that what is that? What at its core, what does it do? And how can I help people understand that and not get tied into the product? So how can people market their product? Don't market their product. Market themselves, market the strategy, market the value.
Those are great points, Nick. And for sure our followers would really go back to this video and watch it all over again. So this is actually very nice to have again in our annual forum. I think this would be very helpful to a lot of members. Anyway, so I think that's all of the questions that we have to ask for you tonight. So we really do thank you for your time, Nick. So it's so generous of you to give your time. We know how expensive your time is as a financial consultant. So thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, and the thing is, it's iron sharpening iron, right? I mean, at all the events, and I hope, even the newest person realizes the value of what you have going on there. Because really, you have your seasoned people and you have your new people. And I think sometimes we're like afraid because we don't know, can we ask for help? Are these people really going to help us? And I think what's great about the IARFC, no matter where it is it's people out there trying to help other people. You have people that are all along the pipeline. Some have been in business for 30 years. Some have been in business for 5 minutes, as whatever they are in here. They've been doing it for different time frames. And so I think it's really key for people to realize that the value is in, the value is in this room. The value is with the knowledge that you guys can partake in helping people. And so don't diminish that. Put as much time into your knowledge and your value into yourself in continuing education to make yourself the best that you can be. And for sure, lean on other people who have been there before you, just like you all here, who can help you get over that next step. And it might be that one tactic that they mentioned that can really help propel your business. And when you propel your business, you're actually able to make a transformational difference in the lives of more people. And that's a good thing. And I think that's the root cause of why we're doing this, is we want to help the most people possible. And we're all willing to help each other to help make that happen. So I appreciate you guys coming on and allowing me to share with you, because I hope you can tell I'm passionate about this, and being able to share that with you all over there. Hopefully that gives somebody 1, 2, or 3 good nuggets that they can take to really take them to a whole new level and help more people. So thanks for having me on.
Right.
Thanks also. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you so much, Nick.
The thoughts you shared will probably ignite some spark into the minds and the hearts of our participants, and hopefully will allow everybody to start the conversation about how do I start, what do I do. So I guess that's the nice thing about the IARFC community. It's really a community where we help each other, we share experiences, and we bring the wealth of experience and expertise to our clients to be able to help them in their needs for a secure and a comfortable future. And I guess that's our mission and that's our goal in life.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's very appropriate that you are the first one in this season 3 of our podcast, Nick, because by the way, I'm a fan already of you. I got a lot. I never saw how it looks like from the marketing perspective, like going first with who are your target audience. And I think you captured the ethics and the value of IARFC, which really presents the solution for the clients. We're not just selling products. Again, it's a reminder for all of us RFCs to really take care of our clients, because we cannot really serve a lot or all people that comes to us, right? There's just gonna be a few that is really meant for us, for us to help them, right? So wow, I learned a lot. I'm gonna review this again and again, and will apply the things that you're very generous.
Yes.
Thank you. Maraming salamat.
Awesome. I'm glad. Like I said, it's just that it's a joy to be with like-minded people. I think what we have to realize is we're all going the same direction.
Right.
And we just, as a group, if we can all go the same direction together at the same time, we're all going to help each other get there. And that helps the most people. It helps push the mission of the IARFC, which is to help as many people as we can. So again, I think it's awesome that what you guys are doing there. And I commend you for that. Because trust me, over here, we're taking note of what you guys are doing there and saying, wow, they got their stuff together. You guys are doing fantastic. So wonderful job there. Kudos to you guys, and the leadership out there for really taking the reins and pushing this thing, because there's a lot of new people that are going to come into the fold that, like you said, are newer. And now they don't have to go through all the school of hard knocks. They don't have to go through all this hard learning on their own. They'll be able to tie into a group and be like, wow, I just shaved off 5 or 10 years out of my learning process by tying into them.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's the whole purpose.
Yes. Thank you so much. Again, let me just remind everyone to send in your questions for the next episode so that we can talk about it. Your questions and your feedback are really appreciated. So in the next episode, our guest will be Mr. Barry Daly, MRFC, who will be talking about ethics. So if you have any questions about ethics, especially in the practice of financial consulting, then please do feel free to put it in our chat box down below. Okay, so
Time flies so fast. Tapos na naman ang another episode. So on behalf of our executive producer, Miss Grace De Vera Escobar, this is the RFC Tuesday podcast saying,
it is better to be in the know than to be the last to know.
all right, good night, everyone.
good night, everyone. See you again in the next episode.
All right.
Good night.
Take care,
Stay
guys.
safe.
Stay
Thank
safe,
you.
everyone.
Appreciate it.